at the Greenbrier. Please continue to enjoy your breakfast as we get our final day of the Business Summit underway. Can we give a round of applause, please, to the wonderful staff at the Greenbrier? Haven't they done a great job of making us all feel really well cared for? Thank you, guys. Before we start, I'd like to ask Senate President Craig Blair, Senator Charles Trump, Senator Bob Plymel, Delegate Eric Householder, and Delegate Paul Espinoza to come up to the stage. There they are, all together over there. Over the past several years, as you know, West Virginia has made enormous strides in becoming the best place it can be to live, to work, and to raise a family. Our legislative leaders have tackled some of the most pressing, difficult issues and have often done so even at their own political peril. The 5 gentlemen joining me up here are all moving on from the legislature after this year, but they've made an incredible mark on our state. More importantly, they are all individuals who we at the Chamber are honored to call friends. We have a special recognition for each of you that has been approved by the Chamber's Board of Directors, and we're going to get a picture.
At the Chamber's annual meeting and Board of Directors meeting that occurred on Wednesday, resolutions of appreciation and respect were passed by the membership and the board to these people for their outstanding public service. We wanted an opportunity for the entire crowd to get to see them and express appreciation for the work that they have done. So won't you join me in a rousing show of appreciation and respect for the great work of these public servants.
We were just joking that we each want 5 minutes to speak also. But before we leave, get over here, Steve. You know what I'm getting ready to do. I enjoy giving Steve one of these each year that I come down here. This year it's grown about 3/4 of an inch. This is a book of all the bills since 2015 that we've passed to make it so that businesses can be more profitable in the state of West Virginia. Bill after bill after bill after bill. Steve, your doorstop.
So as Senate President Craig Blair said, I've now got a collection of 9 of these. If this continues, we're going to have to reinforce the library at the Chamber of Commerce. So keep it up. We love you. Thank you very, very much. I think I've got a workers' comp claim here.
No, you don't. Thank you again, gentlemen. Much of this event is dedicated to celebrating economic development and job creation in West Virginia. And our next panel features 3 companies that represent the backbone of our state, companies that have shaped West Virginia. I'm going to ask our panelists to come up to the stage while I introduce my good friend, moderator, Kevin Craig. Kevin Craig is the Executive Vice President of Natural Resource Partners, serving in his current role since 2021. Prior to joining the company in 2005, Kevin worked for CSX Transportation and served for 7 terms and the West Virginia House of Delegates. You might have had a perfect chamber voting record. I'm not sure. It was pretty close. He was the chairman of the Committee on Energy. He also served as a captain in the United States Army. Welcome to the podium, Kevin. There's your notes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mary Beth. And I get the pleasure to moderate this panel. I think we're going to have a good session. The tough part will be keeping it within the time frame because there's so many good topics in the history of each company. If I could, I'd like to just take a couple minutes and give you a brief background on our three companies. You can find the panelists' bios in your packet. So I'll focus on really the company side of things. And we'll start with, let me get my notes. With REO Processing and Rebecca Poland. REO Processing is a 114-year-old fourth-generation family business in the business of specialty chemical contract manufacturing. They primarily service the water, pharmaceutical, pool, spa, food, construction, and industrial manufacturing industries. They offer 35 different capabilities spread across 5 locations, 5 West Virginia locations, and cover almost 2 million square feet of space. Steel of West Virginia, Kevin Linville. Steel of West Virginia is located in Huntington, is a wholly owned subsidiary of Steel Dynamics and one of 7 steel mills in the Steel Dynamics family. The company began in 1907 as the West Virginia Rail Company, producing light rail and rail components for the coal mining industry. After a few ownership changes, name changes, and an expanded product line, Steel of West Virginia was created in 1982 when Robert Bunting and several local investors purchased the plant from Connors Steel. They currently have over 620 employees in the plant in Huntington. An economics impact study performed just a few years ago revealed that for every job at the plant in Huntington, there were an additional 9.2 jobs created in the region. Our third company is ZMM Architects and Adam Crayson. Since the inception of the firm in 1959, ZMM has provided clients with an integrated approach to building design. ZMM delivers all building-related design services, including architecture, engineering, civil, structural, mechanical, and electrical, interior design, and construction administration, all with their in-house team. Maintaining a diverse practice for more than 60 years, ZMM, with extensive experience in a variety of building types, including educational facilities, governmental facilities, ZMM has provided design services on more than 300 school projects throughout the region. So that's a little bit about the companies that each of these individuals represent. And the key is to really hear from their experiences of what has led to their success. We'll cover a number of different topics and hope to have just a good discussion. I'd like to kick it off with really innovation. If you think about the history of the companies, there's a reason they've had such a long, successful track record. Can you talk a little bit about the changes in your companies over the years and how you've innovated, what technology has possibly provided towards your success?
I guess everybody's looking at me, so I'll field the first question. Innovation's critical in our industry. I was probably the last year of architectural students who graduated, who during my internship was sitting at a drafting table with a velour and pencil and this sort of thing, and actually producing hand drawings. It was right on the cusp when things were moving towards CAD, but we really rely and invest in our employees to make sure we're staying on the cutting edge of design. So I can remember we were working on a project, the Morgantown Readiness Center, for one of our great clients, the West Virginia Army National Guard, and it's the first time we introduced a video into the design process where we did, flew in on Google Earth to the site and had a very crude 3D model built on the site. That was like 2008. And where we are from then to now is incredible. We walk in now with fully developed, we're developing the buildings using Autodesk Revit in 3 dimensions, and we're walking into presentations with a fully developed building, interior fly-throughs, photorealistic designs, and we're working on the Woody Williams Center for Cabell County Schools right now for technologies and careers, and we went into that presentation, and it just helps our clients visualize. That's always been the challenge. Is our job is to hear our clients, help deliver their vision. But sometimes it was hard as we would take that vision back to them, to really confirm that we'd really, achieved that goal, really got what they were trying to deliver. And now it's so much easier. But we rely on our team to stay on top of that technology. We have engineers that are involved in ASHRAE. It's a national society that are helping set energy code standards across the country. Our architects, our educational planners, we're investing in them. We're investing in training. We invest in their training with new software. And, we saw that change, as I mentioned, as I entered the career, almost 30 years ago now. We saw a change when we moved into 3D, into Revit. And now we're just closely monitoring what's going to happen with AI and how that's going to impact our profession as well. And I assume that'll be the next big challenge that we've got to overcome. And we'll meet it by investing in our people.
I think that REO has really embodied the entrepreneurial spirit and capitalized on a lot of opportunistic opportunities over the years. 100 years ago, we were a furniture company in downtown Huntington, and through that business, we got into downtown real estate, and through downtown real estate, we bought a warehouse, so we got into the warehousing business, and then we got into trucking because our customers needed some help getting their product from their factories over to our warehouses. My favorite story is about how we got into the contract manufacturing that we do today. We had a customer that was having us ship product from one of our warehouses in Huntington down to Louisiana, and then we were shipping it back in a different bag a couple days later, and we wondered what they were really doing to it down there. So one of our employees' sons was an engineering intern for us over one summer, and we stuck him in the truck, and we told him to drive down, and we wouldn't call it industrial espionage, but I didn't say that up here. But we just said, look around and see what you can see. And he found out that they were literally just packaging the product from one kind of bag into another kind of bag. And we thought, that's kind of wasteful to drive the product all the way from West Virginia to Louisiana and back just to repackage it. And so we went to the customer and said, we think if you help us invest in that piece of equipment, we could do this for you right here at home. And so that was the start of our contract manufacturing business. And we've just throughout always looked for opportunities to take advantage of simple little things that meet a big customer need, and maybe nobody's thinking about a better way to do.
I think innovation at Steel of West Virginia started with the creation of Steel of West Virginia. Prior to, let's say, mid-'80s, our mills were hand mills, which meant that making steel, people actually had to stand out on the mill floor. And as steel fell through from the mill, they had to be out there on the floor with hooks and tongs and pick it back up and put it back in the mill stand. It's not a comfortable job, right? So after Steel of West Virginia came, we put hydraulic manipulators in, so that now the operators sit in an air-conditioned pulpit above the mill floor, and they can catch the steel and put it back in the mill stand with hydraulic manipulators. That's where it started. That also allowed us to expand the product line, and some of the products that we make, for example, for the truck trailer industry, we make a lightweight, high-strength I-beam that's used as the floor joist, so to speak, for van trailers, refrigerator trailers you see running up and down the highway. But we don't only make the steel, but we also fabricate that. So innovation was that we started adding more downstream value-add work. And today, we do no manual welding, in production. It's all done robotically. Our coating lines are all loaded and unloaded robotically. So that's that kind of technology has allowed us to grow, stay very competitive, and it got people off the mill floor having to catch steel and put it back in the mill.
So I think that's a nice segue into a question I'd like each of you to think about and share your thoughts. Innovation, you talked about some successes, gave examples. Talk to the group about some success stories at your companies and maybe how it's impacted the state of West Virginia.
I'm happy to go first. I think that our biggest success has been in growing our contract manufacturing business. My customers for that business come from all over the country, whereas my warehousing customers are typically West Virginia customers, and that is due to the logistics of the cost of transportation. But the services that we provide bring people from, if anybody in this room can think of the name of a chemical company, they're probably one of my customers, and their representatives are coming to West Virginia on a weekly basis, touring our facilities, meeting my employees, talking to us and my engineers about how to solve their problems. We truly partner with them, and I think that we've really played a big part in bringing new ideas and opportunities to the state as people have come and realized that the opportunities and capabilities here are as good as they are or better than they are anywhere else.
You know, at ZMM, we're in a service business, so and our work is project-based. When I think of successes, I immediately start to think of various projects we've worked on. And we're challenged a lot of times with some very technically complex projects, and I think clients come to us when they have those because we do have an engineering team in-house that supports our architects, which is a little unique for a firm of our size. One project that comes to mind that had a real challenge is when we worked with the West Virginia Army National Guard on the JITIC, the Joint Interagency Training and Education Center up at Camp Dawson. They had secured some federal funding to help build that, but had a very short period of time to deliver it. And our team was able to rally, come up with a conceptual design very quickly. A lot of hard work went into about a 5-month period to design a $100 million building and get it out to bid, and the money, the bid secured so that they would keep the federal funding for the project. And that's the great thing in our business, too, is we actually get to see these things take shape then over the next couple of years, and we get to see the value they provide to our communities. Recently, a lot of those projects have fallen in the tourism world. So when we talk about economic development, there's been a lot of focus on tourism. Started out with Shawnee Park, Shawnee Sports Complex in Kanawha County, and helping them develop that sports tourism destination. And it's been projects as big as those I've mentioned, you know, down to the stargazing cabins we're working with up at Cooper's Rock with the DNR right now. So, again, the successes are project-based, but it's great to see them throughout the community. Our previous tagline was, you see us in your community every day, and it's very rewarding for me as I travel through West Virginia. You know, just in this community, we've been working with the School of Osteopathic Medicine, and a lot of the projects that we do are the ones that nobody notices. It's roof replacements and HVAC replacements, and just the things that help these facilities stay running. But we had the opportunity to help them with their new testing center. So when I was down there this spring, my nephew graduated from school there, and it was just great to see the impact that that's going to have on that particular community of students.
A good example, again, is a product. Back during the big downturn, 2008, 2009, we're looking for things to do. And recognize that an opportunity could be in the solar energy industry. At that time, a lot of solar panels were being supported by square tubing, and we recognized that if they were using beams instead of tubing, those would be much easier to coat, much easier to fabricate. So we went to the solar industry and proposed using wide flange beams, something that we could produce on one of our rolling mills. And they thought, hey, that's not a bad idea. So we make a lot of, when you're driving down the highway, we make a lot of wide flange beams that are used as guardrail posts. You know, the 6-inch beams that are driven into the ground, not the crinkle rail, but the beams that support those. So we made a skinny down version of a guardrail post, and started not only making that steel, but we fabricated. We cut it to length. We fabricated such that the solar panel brackets can be mounted. We even galvanize them now. And we're doing thousands of tons of steel for the solar energy industry. So that's been a big success. Made us very busy during a very soft time.
Great. So with any successful business, we know workforce, attracting, retaining talent is key to success. Can you talk about how do each of your companies approach workforce development and talent acquisition in your business?
You guys want me to start? You know, this is something we talk about regularly at the office. You know, we're in the unique position that because of the type of business we have to hire a very diverse group of very well-educated, technically skilled individuals, and that's been a challenge for us. We rely on our team. That is what we are, right? It's the services that our team provides our clients. So we invest a lot of time into trying to develop that talent. This year we're a business of 65 people, and we had 17 interns this summer across multiple disciplines in our business. And one of the frustrating things over the last few years is we've developed this talent. We joke that we've educated a lot of architects that are now working in Lexington. So it's the challenge of we can get them, you know, as they're going through school because they're coming back to live with their parents. How do we get them to come back to West Virginia and stay here and make their careers here? And we're doing that now. We're really addressing this in a lot of ways. We support our employees. I had an employee recently come up to me and say, you know, I don't use my sick time. Can I bank it for another employee? And it was great to say to him, you don't need to worry about that because we take care of our employees. If somebody gets sick here, we're going to be there for them. They don't need banked sick time. They're going to be fine. But we invest in our employees and their training. We invest in our employees. We try to give them a good work-life balance. And we're also going to invest. We're going to make a significant investment this fall in the workspace that they operate in our Charleston office. You know, if we truly believe that design can improve people's performance, it can improve their quality of their work life at least, we really feel like we need to step up and provide the sort of workspace because we want them to be there. We think the collaboration is so important to the success of the work we do. We want them to be in the office and working together. So we want to provide them a workspace that reflects that. So that's going to be our next significant investment in our team. And we're hopeful that helps move that needle in starting to retain some of those interns and making them long-term employees. On a successful side, to share one success story, we do have it's funny, I've been there now 23, it'll be 24 years this fall, and I'm still one of the new guys. When people do commit to working for us, we don't lose them, they stay. And we even have multi-generational families that have worked for us. Our current accounting team, our controller, is a third-generation employee of the firm. Her grandfather was one of our first architects, Earl Phillips. Her mother was one of our long-term executive assistants who really helped keep the office together for years, and now she's running the accounting side. So, you know, tapping into that network, even the family networks in a state like West Virginia is really important to fill those needs. But workforce is, and we anticipate will continue to be a challenge for us.
I think the most important thing I want everybody here to know is that I've run plants in West Virginia, Texas, Georgia, and Louisiana, and by far my best workforce is here in West Virginia, like without a doubt. We have struggled over the years to recruit the same kinds of employees that Adam's looking for, those highly skilled and highly educated people. It's mostly because we have a very small team of those types of employees, and they're really looking for more community, I think, than we can offer. But we have managed to be competitive in the values that we offer to our employees. So similarly, if somebody gets sick, we're not counting their sick days. If somebody needs to take some time off, we will work with them. We had an employee who had a baby born prematurely with a lot of problems. It was a very sad situation, and he and his wife had to go live in Columbus for months, and we let him take as much time off as he needed. We let him work remotely, And I don't think that's something that a lot of my customers would necessarily offer. My customers are my biggest competition for employees. I joke that I am the training ground for them because they become experts in the products, and then they go, they get swooped away, and we have to start again. But besides recruiting for highly talented and skilled engineers, I think one of the biggest things that we do to really help our company and our communities is provide second chance work opportunities for people who were formerly incarcerated. And that's the main reason that I came back to Huntington to work for my family business. I really wanted to help grow that program, and it's something that we've offered for nearly a decade now, and I think it's made a really big and meaningful difference in a lot of people's lives.
Yep. Our workforce, we have multi-generational. It's very multi-generational. I'll tell you a little story about a fellow named Jared. Jared is working in an area of the plant and doing basically the same job his great-grandfather did, and his grandfather, and his father. And Jared's been there for 25 plus years. And that's not too uncommon to find that kind of dedication, just generation after generation. And to tell you about why that happens, I again have to talk about, and why it's so valuable to us, again, I have to talk about the products that we make. Because steel of West Virginia is not a normal steel mill. We make a lot of very special shapes for very specific purposes. We make a lot of steel for the industrial truck industry, which is the people who build forklifts. So the steel that you see on the front of a forklift, the part that goes up and down, the lifting mechanism, we do all of those shapes, and they're not normal. Every one of those forklift manufacturers, they all have their own idea of what those shapes have to look like. And many of them have their own idea about what chemistry that steel has to be made from. So right now we're doing probably close to 100 different chemistries in our melt shop. We still do rail products, not only for mining, but we do transit rail. If you've ever ridden on the metro in Washington, D.C., or others, you know the third rail, the one you're not supposed to touch, that's made in Huntington, West Virginia. That's made by us. If you were here yesterday, I believe the man's name is Mr. Beamer with Dominion Energy. If I made a mistake on his name, I apologize. But we made bulb flats for this ship that they have that is used to install offshore wind turbines. All of those special shapes have, a lot of what we do, there's a lot of science in it, but there's also some art, some craftsmanship. So having people who have been there doing that job for a long time has made us who we are. Without that longevity, it would be very difficult. So those people, generation after generation. Now, just because your father or your mother or your grandfather, that doesn't mean that you're automatically hired. They go through the same screening, same testing. But people do want to come to work for us. And like you were saying, once they're there, we have very little turnover. And we're very fortunate. Very good workforce.
Great. So we've talked about past successes, your longevity. What are your future aspirations at each of your companies? What do you see the big next step, so to speak? Rebecca?
The thing that I'd like to most grow in my company right now is my opportunities for my engineers and my mechanics. I mentioned earlier that we partner with our customers. My customers, who are the Dows and DuPonts of the world, do truly come to us for help with solving problems that they have. But they do it when they have a problem, not before the problem happens. And so I'm working on a couple different opportunities right now to help us be able to get our foot in the door to help solve those problems before they really happen. And then I would, of course, like to continue growing the programs that we offer to our employees who have been formerly incarcerated. Right now, all I can really do is hire them, but they have so many needs. They need help with housing, education, healthcare. That's probably a different conference, but I would really like to be able to offer them some assistance in-house.
You know, in our case, our future success is this room's success, right? We're service providers, and I know when I had the opportunity, I mentioned the JITIC project. That was early in my career, 2008, 2009. We were working on that, and I finished it, and I thought, man, it's a shame that I worked on the biggest project I'm going to ever work on this early in my career. And then the city of Charleston decided to redevelop the Coliseum and Convention Center, and we finished that project. And I thought, man, what an opportunity, probably the most significant project I'm ever going to work on. And now we're working on a state consolidated laboratory project for the state of West Virginia. They're making a tremendous investment, a much-needed investment into the quality of the laboratories for the state. And, those are some public projects. There's some private projects as well that we get these opportunities. And it's really amazing to me, to see in a state where we face so many challenges, and the population challenges always jump to mind, but that this community continues to invest and is charting the course for the success of West Virginia. What President Smith is doing at Marshall University and with their cyber projects, I mean, just incredible. And you think about all the spinoff that's going to generate for development across that region. So our success is really dictated by the people in this room and the investments that they choose to make in West Virginia. And we're just grateful that often, that they choose to work with local service providers when they need to deliver those projects.
Yeah, I think that workforce development-wise, some of the challenges that we've had is filling trade and craft type positions. Right now, industrial electricians are in demand, so we've started an apprenticeship program so we can bring in people and they can work with our people and become very good industrial electricians. Where there's a need for machinists. I'm not talking about people who run CNC machining centers. I'm talking about people who are skilled in the traditional machine tools, engine lathes and vertical milling machines, people who can make one-off parts. That's a challenge. The HR people at the plant call them purple unicorns. They're a little hard to find. But we will also hopefully continue our internship program that we've had with Marshall University for several years now. We have had interns in safety, accounting, logistics, engineering, HR, production planning, sales, and many of them end up staying. They come as interns, and I've often thought that some of them take the job so they get a free parking place, they can go to school. But many of them end up finishing their undergrad, going through their graduate school, and they stay with us for a long time. So we hope to continue that. Then on the product side, I think we've all heard in the last few days that renewable energy might be an up-and-comer. So hopefully we can continue to grow the solar business that we've been doing. And then e-commerce. We're still making products for the truck trailer industry. Well, you got to move goods around the country. You need truck trailers, right? And if you're going to load those trucks and unload those trucks, you need forklifts. So we think that we'll just continue to expand in those areas.
Great. We have just a few minutes left, but there are a number of policymakers in the room. If you had one or two things you'd like to see changed that would lead to significant growth within your company, what would those changes be?
I mean, for me, it's affordable housing and access to good child care and health care. That's what my employees need. That's what my engineers need, and that's what my janitors need.
Great. You know, one of the perks of the position I have getting to be out in front of 65 architects and engineers in West Virginia is I get to participate in a lot of other organizations that are looking at growth in the state. I'm currently involved with the Charleston Area Alliance. We're going through a strategic planning process. And in my mind, I'm fascinated by demographics. I mean, I'm just so interested in where we've been, where we're going. And I would say what's going to serve every business in West Virginia is to turn around the population trend. And I've sat at so many tables and had so many discussions about what it's going to take, and I don't know that any of us have the answer. But we've really got to solve that issue. It's a challenge to be in our business, in a service business, as architects and engineers, people who build in a state that's continuing to lose population. So whatever those decision makers can do that's going to make our state more attractive to get that in-migration, I think it's critical, the most critical thing we face.
I would agree with what these folks have said. And of course, first, do no harm. Allow us to continue to make steel the way we make steel. Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks to each of you for your insight and sharing your thoughts with the entire group. And please join me in thanking our panelists. Truly appreciate your commitment to West Virginia and our communities. So thank you.
And thanks so much to the Chamber for allowing us to do this, and including Steel of West Virginia. Thank you so much.
Well done.
Well, good morning. It's good to be back. And Steve, I just want to thank you for what a great event this has been. Although I have to say, I'm glad it's kind of the end because I'm on my third bag of clothing. I'd have to have President Smith get in the white minivan and go get some more clothes for me if we extend this any longer. So it's my pleasure to be here today to talk about something that we all probably touched and we may not realize we touch, and that is cybersecurity. As President Smith mentioned yesterday, we live in a digital world that is becoming more digital every day. For example, my wife and I just purchased a new Samsung washer and dryer. Got it hooked up, laid down in bed to take a nap, picked up my phone to see if I have any text messages, and what pops up is a network for my washer and dryer. Now, why does my washer and dryer need a network? I saw just last week there was a huge cyber attack on electric toothbrushes. How many people have electric toothbrushes that connect to the internet? But it touches us every day. If you have a smartwatch, and most of us do, you're susceptible to cybersecurity attacks in our world today. So we have some great panelists today, and I want to introduce those folks and have them come up and join me on stage here. First, I have Alyssa Chudnovsky. Alyssa is the Senior Director for Partnership and Adoption Services with a new Kickstart program within the Advanced Placement Program for the College Board. Alyssa comes with us via Boston, where she was a math teacher and led an apprenticeship program there before pursuing her master's studies at Duke University. Alyssa, thank you for being with us today. Next, I have General Jim Hoyer, retired general. Everyone in this room knows General Hoyer. He served as our adjutant general for 10 years. He's currently the Vice President of Economic Innovation at West Virginia University. A true champion for this state. Every major crisis that we've dealt with, Jim has been a great leader in those, and is now helping us lead the way with our National Center of Excellence with Marshall University and West Virginia State University for our new Center of Excellence. And not sure why he has not yet put this on his bio, but he was a classmate of mine in the 2015 Leadership West Virginia class. Next is Dr. Josh Brunty. Dr. Brunty is one of our professors at Marshall University. Josh is also head coach for the United States Cybersecurity team. He's going to talk a little bit about that, but I saw that and I was like, oh, great. I always wanted a gold medal, so I called up Josh and said, can I be on the United States Cybersecurity team? He looked at my resume and it said proficient in Commodore 64, and I was immediately eliminated from the list. Next up, we have Dr. Eric Cage. Dr. Cage became the 13th president of West Virginia State University back in 2022, prior to serving there for 1 year as interim. He's done a lot of tremendous work at West Virginia State University, including a strategic vision program for 5 years called Future State, the establishment of the school's first doctorate program in education leadership, and reestablishment of a downtown center, which is a beautiful center in downtown Charleston, and establishment of a cybersecurity innovation center. So welcome, Eric. Thank you for being with us today. We have one more panelist who will be joining us in a minute, and when he comes in, we'll introduce Mr. Bill Walker. He had an emergency to deal with, and when you find out what Mr. Walker does, you'll understand why it's much more important that he's in his room handling that emergency as opposed to being here right now. So, Alyssa, let me start with you. First, why don't you tell us a little bit about the College Board, what you do, and what your role is and what you see we need to do to get students in K through 12 more interested in cybersecurity in this digital world that we are living in today.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. So the College Board, for those that don't know, it serves about 7 million students. So SAT, PSAT, advanced placement courses, CLEP. So I'm sure at some point either you or your child has interacted with the College Board, hopefully positively. And so what we are building now is really around exposing students to cybersecurity in high school. And the reasons we're doing this is really twofold. One, access. So right now, only 1.2% of high school students have access to a cybersecurity program. This is a problem when you know that there are 500,000 jobs in cybersecurity right now. And in West Virginia alone, there'll be about 8,000 jobs related to cyber or networking by 2030. So it's growing. So 26% growth over 10 years in this state alone. And so what we're really focusing on is how do we expose students to cyber, get them excited about cybersecurity in ways that are more interactive than just learning in front of a textbook, but really building out interactive real-world scenarios, joining competitions, which Josh will talk about in a bit. And so by doing that, we're really focusing on is bringing the best of advanced placement and bringing it to the career and technical education space, focusing on cybersecurity. And so, as mentioned, I was a 6th grade math teacher. Getting students excited about math, really difficult, especially in 6th grade. But when you start bringing them into apprenticeships, whether it's mock trial, forensic accounting, bringing them to the workplace, they get excited, they see the relevance of what they're learning. And so we're trying to bring that to scale, focusing on cybersecurity as our first program of study. So,
thank you. It's so important that we get cybersecurity interested in kids in that age, right, so that we can train them and get them ready as we have all these job openings. General Horry, let me ask you for a second. We see this year it's projected that the cost of cyber attacks in this country are going to hit $10.5 trillion. It's estimated that there is a potential cyber attack every 39 seconds in this country today. And 75% of those, believe it or not, start with an email. What can we do to help educate our workforce, and what can higher education institutions do to help with education, to help with this problem and threat detection and stopping these attacks before they get started?
Yeah, so let me start out by saying I am the least technical of the panel members, other than Tony. I'm old enough that the internet was still a defense research project when I was in college. So, but I'm here because of what Tony laid out in the question, and that is, as he mentioned, 75% are email based. But if you look at a couple of studies, as high as potentially 98% of the attacks are related to human error or social engineering. So I used to tell folks in the Guard, turn challenges into opportunities. So our biggest challenge right now in cyberspace and other fraud-related activities is that social engineering piece that we face. And in a state with the demographic that we have, where our older population in this country are the most vulnerable to the attacks and the fraud piece. What we've got to do, whether it's us in higher education, K through 12, business groups, civic groups, our advocacy groups, we've got to be focused back on the same things that some of us remember back in the old days related to the civil defense piece, and what I pushed for years with the Guard from the standpoint of making sure that we are prepared, we understand, we create awareness programs, we have resiliency, and personal resiliency is significantly important here. What happens if you do get attacked? You've got to be able to know how to recover from that effectively. So I'd encourage all of us in this room, whether you're with an advocacy group, a community group, you're a business leader, we have got to get out and push this awareness piece,
because that is the primary thing that we have to reduce cyber attacks against our population.
Alyssa, let me go back to you for quickly, if I can, because you mentioned the importance of getting this down into the K through 12 system. What can we do as business people, as higher education institutions, to help you with what your mission is?
Yeah, thank you. So what we're really focusing on is creating that pipeline and exposure. And what's really exciting about cyber and the folks in this room that is regardless of whether you're in tech, agriculture, advanced manufacturing, it does not matter. It's going to involve having your workforce, to your point, be prepared. Cyber education is now a new literacy that all students are going to need to have. And so really the support we need is whether it's policy, whether it's support from different stakeholders saying that this is a priority to be putting into high school education as a primary thing, not an elective, not something pushed to the side, but a piece of education that is required for students to have. And then on the higher ed level, what we're really focusing on is creating those pipelines of students so that they know after high school, whether they're going into a 2-year, a 4-year, a training program, that there's something on the other end waiting for them that's going to help prepare them. And so what's really exciting is just seeing the different growth of apprenticeships or work-based learning opportunities. We're constantly looking for employers who are interested in working with students that we're preparing to be able to do those opportunities so they can see and get that work on the job training. We can definitely do the in the classroom work, but what we really need is more support of where we can hand those students off to afterwards.
Dr. Brunning, let me ask you, you're a professor at Marshall University. You have joint appointments in computer science and electrical engineering, criminology, criminal justice, forensic science. So we really have someone here, Jim, who can help you and me out with explaining this stuff. So let me ask you, what are you seeing? What are the barriers for getting kids into college interested in cybersecurity? And what can we do going forward to get that interest level up and to recruit more? Because as Alyssa mentioned, the demand is tremendous. What can we do to get more people interested in cybersecurity at that level?
Yeah, first off, let's start in West Virginia. So we have students that are dispersed around 55 counties. Many of those counties are rural counties, and some of those counties are behind other counties in terms of where they're at from a technology perspective. I grew up in a southern county here in West Virginia that didn't have good internet, didn't have good computers, and we're still dealing with that. But more importantly, we really need, as Alyssa says, to capture these students at the middle school and high school levels, to get them to fall in love with cybersecurity, make that one of their loves, create competitive cyber teams at the middle school, high school level that really engages them early. So when they do hit the college ranks, we already have a step ahead. We're doing a good job at the college levels, and we're building strategies, and we're doing great things, and we'll talk about that here a little bit later. But to begin to dig into the schools, find the talent that's in these schools. And I'll say this much, I said it in Morgantown earlier this summer, the students that are in this state right now are the most brilliant kids in the United States, right now as we speak. And I think that is a message that we need to continue to send, to continue to give to these children as they grow up in the middle school and high school level, and get them to fall in love with it and continue on from college to the workforce.
Now let me switch gears with you. Let's talk about what in the world is the coach of the U.S. cyber team. When do we compete? How do we compete? Can I be the water boy? Is there anything that I can get a gold medal?
I've tried to recruit you as the water boy. You don't show up to practice. You just don't show up to practice, and that's unacceptable. No, I'm just kidding. No, as head coach of the U.S. cyber team, I have the opportunity to recruit the best of the best in the United States, ages 15 to 25. We started earlier this year recruiting 1,000 students that signed up for our Open. From that 1,000, we whittled that down to 120, put them through a combine, and drafted a team of 30 individuals, ages 18 to 25, that compete on behalf of the United States. We will take them next month to the European cybersecurity competition in Turin, Italy, to compete on behalf of the U.S. against other European Union nations. And then at the end of October, we will send that same team to Santiago, Chile, to compete as the United States in the international cybersecurity competition. That is against Asia, Team Europe, Team Australia, Team Canada, Team South America. So we're going up against the best in the world. We're prepared. We're ready for that particular challenge, and with some good fortune, we'll win that competition. Now, I am confident that we can take that national program with that level of talent and scale it back to what we have here in West Virginia and provide that to our students here at scale in West Virginia. With our partners from Marshall and WVU, West Virginia State University, with investments from federal entities like Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, the state of West Virginia, who has really invested in us. We're putting pieces of dynamite together, and when we light that match, it's going to really just make an explosion. I think it's going to be heard and felt around the country, and people are going to wonder, like, what happened in West Virginia? Like, what caused them to be what they are? And I'm looking forward to that, because I'm looking forward to the moment that one of our kids from West Virginia that graduate from one of these universities and they have a West Virginia address, or they graduate from those universities, they're going to be built different, they're going to be trained different, and they're just going to be different people. And these people that want to hire them say, I want to hire that person because I know they're just built different. And I'm here to see it. I can't wait till that happens.
Terrific. General Hoyer, I'm going to go back to you for just a second, if I may.
Is this another non-technical question?
Do you like my socks today?
I do.
Josh talked about the U.S. Cyber Team, and the WU just hosted a great event recently, the Operation Lock Shields in Morgantown, which was a great success. Talk about those types of events and how important that is as we're trying to recruit students at both Marshall, WVU, and West Virginia State to get into these programs.
Yeah, so we recently hosted, and we started this a couple years back with the Guard hosting it, but we've moved it to our higher education partnership, what's called Lock Shields. NATO exercise, what they call the largest live fire cyber exercise out there in the world. And it was hosted here in West Virginia, hosted in Morgantown. All three schools had participating assets in that program, and these kids absolutely excelled. But the other thing I think was important about this, and we've got to continue to press from K through 12 and beyond, is we not only had kids from computer science, kids from management information system, we had kids from the public interest communications lab working on that social engineering piece. We had students from the law school, and we're going to continue to bring in a variety of disciplines, because again, going back to that original question, 98% of the challenge to this is our greatest opportunity, and that's addressing that social engineering piece. And, you know, in a 7-day period a month ago, my wife and I experienced, she stopped at a gas station in North Carolina and was forced to use the swipe on the card. Within 30 minutes of swiping that, USAA is contacting me that somebody's attempting to use our credit card. 4 days later, she gets a phone call from somebody claiming to be USAA, asking for her personal information. So now we're beyond a phishing attack. We're back to this social engineering piece. And while she was questioning this person why she should give the information, the bank called in on the other line and notified of that attack occurring. So those are the kind of things we've got to think beyond just the kids in computer science and management information system. We've got to think about our kids across the spectrum, because this is going to require a unity of effort to address the threat.
Totally agree. We had an event a couple of weeks ago at Marshall with Director Jen Easterly from Homeland Security came for a visit, and we hosted a great panel discussion there with several women, including our First Lady, Elise Smith, Senator Capito. And it was such a great event, and 22 students said they wanted to sign up for cybersecurity after seeing that event. So I think your all's points are well taken. It's getting that education, showing them what's available and what they can do, and how important it is to our country as we move forward. So, Dr. Cage, let me ask you a question. West Virginia State has really done a lot of great things under your leadership. You've done a tremendous job, sir, and you've stepped up to the plate when needed. You've partnered with us on the various things. Talk to us a little bit about what went into your decision. You know, your program with cybersecurity is in its infancy. What went into your thought process in starting that program? Where do you see it headed in the next few years?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Tony. And General, I'm kind of like you. I mean, I am not a cyber guru by any stretch of the imagination, but I do understand the assignment. And when it comes to higher education, in the context of the environment that we're currently find ourselves, the assignment is to meet the moment, to make sure that we as institutions of higher education across West Virginia are transforming ourselves to become more nimble, to make sure we're offering programs that are workforce aligned and programs that are going to help our students come through our doors, walk across the stage at graduation, and have a job in hand. So that is really the reason why we have been so bullish on cybersecurity at West Virginia State University. We understand that there is an incredible demand, as you've heard, in the cyber workforce. We are getting literally attacked every second from adversaries across the world, and we need highly skilled, highly trained individuals, West Virginians, who's going to step into the cyberspace and help defend our country, our way of life. So when we thought about where our areas of need were at the university, cybersecurity quickly rose to the top. And really, when I stepped into the role of interim president at West Virginia State University almost 3 years ago, we laid down the gauntlet. And we said that we will bring cybersecurity to West Virginia State. And we pulled together a very talented team of our faculty and senior staff and gave them a very clear charge. And that is, we need to develop a program that will help our students to be able to get into this very, very high demand space. And in a very short period of time, a matter of months, we were able to put together a proposal for our cybersecurity program. And of course, it was my job as president to go out and try to find the resources to make that happen. And after a number of conversations, we were able to get in front of the Kanawha County Commission, and they provided seed funding, a little bit over $700,000 to allow us to start our cybersecurity program. And soon after, more resources followed in relatively rapid succession. We were just joyed to be able to partner with Marshall University on a Department of Education grant focused on cyber security, defending critical infrastructure via cyber security. And that saw additional resources pour into our cybersecurity program. Just recently, we received $1 million from Google to support the growth of our cybersecurity program. And we've also been fortunate to receive investments from West Virginia American Water. So to date, a program that is less than 2 years old has secured more than $2.5 million in investments. And I think what that says is, one, it underscores the critical need for cybersecurity education, for cybersecurity research and cybersecurity outreach, but it also speaks to the quality of the work that our team, our faculty, our staff, our students are doing at West Virginia State University, because we would not be able to realize $2.5 million, more than $2.5 million investments in our cyber program if we weren't doing the right thing. So again, as Tony has said, our program is in its infancy. Right now we are offering a minor in cybersecurity. That minor is open to all students at our institution. We are taking a cross-interdisciplinary approach. We want cyber to be embedded in as many disciplines as we can across the institution, because again, the mission, the assignment is to make sure that we are putting students into opportunities that are going to help them to become more marketable in this new global economy so they can get out and get jobs. We're also working in the community. We're doing a lot of work with cybersecurity camps in the summer. We've heard about the importance of connecting K-12 with cybersecurity, and we're doing that work. We're also leaning into research, again, in the critical infrastructure space. We have been fortunate to have our students present over 17 papers and speaking engagements at really serious cybersecurity spaces such as IEEE, Secure West Virginia, and many others. So again, it speaks to our commitment to this space. What's next for cybersecurity at West Virginia State University? What's next is we're putting our foot on the accelerator. We are going to accelerate that growth. We want to move that minor to a bachelor's of science in cybersecurity just as quickly as we can. We want to define our focus. We know that Marshall has already planted its flag in the sand, and that Marshall University is going to be the state's lead in cybersecurity. We want to partner, and we are partnering with Marshall because we don't want to recreate the wheel. We want to leverage the assets, the expertise that we have at all of our institutions of higher education, and figure out how we as an institution can contribute to the forward momentum that is already underway. So we want to define our focus. I was talking to Bill last night at the reception, and of course we know we're at West Virginia State, we are one of the state's 2 land-grant institutions, and we believe that agriculture is our future. So perhaps our focus will be defending our critical infrastructure as it relates to our agriculture sector, because we believe that that's a critical space that where we can make a significant impact. We're also really connecting with those in the corporate sector. We have a great relationship with IBM, with Amazon, with Alpha Technologies. We're having conversations with those in this space, asking them, what are the needs? You know, because it's not about just creating programs from an academic or theoretical perspective. We want to create programs that are aligned to the needs of the workforce and that are going to be relevant and, again, ultimately going to help our students get out and get good paying jobs. So we are committed to cybersecurity, and we look forward to working with Marshall, WVU, and all of our institutions in the state to make sure that West Virginia truly is the leader in this critical space.
Well, thank you, Dr. Cage, and I think your comments fit exactly what we've heard President Smith say many times, and I'm going to practice some benchmarking here, Mr. President, not plagiarizing, I'm benchmarking, about the 2 most important letters in West Virginia are W-E, and this is a great example of the we, that we collectively are coming together to solve a problem that the world has. So thank you for your participation, your partnership with us. It's greatly appreciated. Our final panelist, who I did not get to introduce, so this is Mr. Bill Walker, a proud Marshall graduate, former student body president, but Bill has a pretty important job. He is Chief of Staff for U.S. Cyber Command. Bill has been in that role for several years. If you're not familiar with Cyber Command, it's part of JFHQ Doden, which is the Joint Force Headquarters Department of Defense Innovation Network. What that network does is the 3rd largest network in the world outside of the United States and China. And as Bill will probably tell you, nothing within our military and within the Department of Defense operates without running through the Doden network. So Bill has a pretty important job, so he apologizes for being late. Now, you can take it for one of 2 reasons. Either he was thwarting off the most recent enemy attack, or as General Hoyer and I seem to think, maybe it was just for effect that he would show up late. So,
Tony taught him how to get a grand entrance going.
Yeah, and Tony put me in the red hot seat, so thank you for that.
I did.
Yeah.
So, Bill, let me ask you, we've seen a lot of publicity lately. We know the demand for cybersecurity. We know how important it is. We read in the newspaper every day of the attempted attacks from some of our foreign countries that may not be so friendly to us. We're establishing this National Center of Excellence right here in West Virginia. The home of it will be at Marshall University, but it's in collaboration with West Virginia University, West Virginia State. Can you talk to us about what went into establishing this National Center and what you see it providing for the United States and the protection of our cybersecurity?
Sure. So, hi, my name is Bill Walker, and I'm with the government, and I'm here to help. I I want to apologize for being late.
Okay, we're done.
I apologize for being late. We are engaged in global operations 24/7, and when the general calls, you answer. So apologize for that.
Well, he didn't answer your call.
He doesn't answer my calls.
Immediately, as
He
soon
used
as I can.
to when I was the head of the guard. But
That's what happens when you retire. You lose status.
So I am a proud West Virginian. I've been inside the Beltway for almost a decade, and I got to say that what this state has done to evolve and create opportunity to be a part of the national level problem solving, it is noticed by people outside on the other side of these mountains. So I want to applaud you for the things you've been doing there, especially over the past decade and even the past 5 years. So as Chief of Staff, I work for General Hawk, who is the commander of United States Cyber Command, but also the director of the National Security Agency, and then also General Skinner, as we secure, operate, and defend the largest continuously monitored network in the history of mankind. This is a lot. And when I say network, I don't just mean, your computers and phones and your SATCOMs and those sorts of things. An F-35 cannot get off the ground without the connectivity that we need from inside these networks. An M1A2 tank, the same thing. An aircraft carrier, it's basically just a pleasure yacht if it does not have this kind of connectivity. We need these things not only for national security, but also for the critical infrastructure systems that each of us rely upon every day. So we have about an $800 billion budget within the department. I send orders every single day out to about 250,000 cyber warriors that secure, operate, and defend and do the things that we need to do. I have the most sophisticated intelligence and cyber apparatus in the history of mankind. Nothing has ever been this big. And if I have all of this at my disposal and I still can't get this done without the help of partners, then do you really think that your company or your government or the critical infrastructure that you depend on is immune from the cyber threats that come from the People's Republic of China, from Russia, from other nation states? If I need help, I can promise you everyone here does as well. And so with that, it really comes down to, I think the theme of everything that I would have to say about cyber comes down to partnerships. We know we can't do it alone. We know we need the private sector. We need our academic partners, in this case, an incredible partnership with West Virginia University, Marshall University, now West Virginia State University as well. But honestly, there are two types of entities when it comes to cyber. It's those that have been compromised and those that don't know it yet. This is a serious threat that each and every one of this room, of us in this room face, and it's not a matter of if, it's when, and really it's not a matter of when, it's now. This is a national security problem for all of us, and we have to get after it today. So there are 16 sectors in critical infrastructure, which is what we're mainly focused on here. And with that, yes, it's gas, it's water, it's electricity, but it's also banking, it's finance, it's transportation, it's healthcare. Everything that we depend on from just as regular citizens, much less the systems you use as business owners, to those that we use in government to provide critical resources, it is all connected and is all a part in some way of critical infrastructure. So since we're all facing the same imminent threat together, doesn't it make sense that we partner together to get after these things? So again, it's all about partnerships. I always say that cyber is a team sport if you want to win. We can all do this separately. We can all save our own information, not share it with one another, or we can get collaborative and do this together. And when we were looking for partners, we could have gone anywhere in the nation, anywhere in the world. We have partnerships with Carnegie Mellon, with Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Labs, with Stanford, with name your major university. But when we surveyed the land, we found that the best place to partner with government, with private sector, and certainly with these academic institutions is in West by God, Virginia. So, and really, that's applause for yourselves, because not every state has been so welcoming and so open for folks from the federal government, be it the DOD, Homeland Security, or others. When we chose to begin significant investment in the Center of Excellence here, again with WVU and Marshall at first, and now with West Virginia State University, we saw it as a three-legged stool. Of course, we bring what the federal government has to bear, but you have to have state and local government involved as well. You have to have the private sector. of all of the critical infrastructure that we depend on in the Department of Defense to do what we do around the planet, I only own about 20% of it. You own 80% of it. There is no way that we can solve national security problems in the right way if we don't have partners like you in the room. So we created the three-legged stool here with the Center of Excellence. President Gee and President Smith opened us with welcome arms. They said if we wanted to create a degree in JFHQ Doden, a degree in U.S. Cyber Command, as a bachelor's, as a master's, as a PhD, we could do it. They opened every door. They opened their incredible staff from General Hoyer, Tony, and countless others like Josh and many other faculty members. And for 2 years now, plus, we've been working together to make this happen. This also doesn't happen, though, without the federal support we've had. Senator Manchin, as the chairman of the Cybersecurity Subcommittee, is my direct congressional oversight for U.S. Cyber Command. What he has done in this partnership is amazing. Senator Capito, what she's been able to do from the appropriations side has really helped to spur a whole lot of this. And then you get to the state side. The governor and his team, the Secretary of Economic Development, Secretary of Commerce, many, many others. Then you get to your state legislature. I have got to say that when we saw what the governor and the legislature did in securing the investment for what they did for Marshall University, the $45 million for that center there, in addition to what has been invested by WVU through in-kind contributions and already creating their part of the National Center of Excellence up in Morgantown, already existing, and we're already sending our cyber protection teams and our cyber warriors through Morgantown at this time right now. But what they did with that investment, if you count that investment from the state, the in-kind from WVU and Marshall already, plus what we put in as federal partners, we are inching closer to $100 million in investment into this project. And ladies and gentlemen, I think we're just getting started. That is the power of partnerships. So I ask that each and every one of you here consider how you can contribute as you continue to lead in helping your nation, as West Virginians have always done, and as we inch closer to making West Virginia the center of the cyber universe. So I want to thank you for your partnership and just ask that we continue it and we grow it even further. Thank you.
Bill, we thank you, and we thank you for your trust in West Virginia, and we look forward to this exciting project as we move forward. Let me thank all of our panelists. I mean, each of you have contributed in a significant way as we have collectively come together to solve this. And Josh, did you hear what Bill said? It's a team sport. I still need a team. So everybody have a great rest of your conference. Have a great Labor Day weekend. Susan, I'm not sure about what I'm seeing on your shirt there today. So y'all have a great rest of your day and great weekend. Thank you very much.
What a great panel. You guys, I don't know if this is one of the things that keeps you up at 2 a.m., but if it is one of the things that keeps you up at 2 a.m., I hope you sleep better after hearing that great panel. Good work, people. It's now my pleasure to introduce our next moderator to lead a discussion on higher education. I'm making sure you're down there. You are. You're right there. Innovation in Higher Education, Dr. Patrice Harris. Dr. Harris is the CEO and co-founder of eMed, a digital healthcare company. She's a board-certified psychiatrist from Atlanta and has diverse experience as a private practicing physician, county public health director, and patient advocate. She was the 174th president of the American Medical Association and the first African-American woman elected to that position. She is the vice chair of the West Virginia University Board of Governors and serves on the board of United Bankshares. She grew up in Bluefield, West Virginia. Come on up. Dr. Harris, thank you for being here. I'm so glad you're here.
Good morning, West Virginia Chamber. Good morning. So honored to be here as a proud West Virginian, a proud Southern West Virginian, and a triple WVU grad. I'd like to first of all say congratulations on a great summit. I love the theme because it reminds us that in order to solve problems, we need to be aligned on the same purpose. And in doing so, we can ignite prosperity in our great state. WVU is proud to serve as host sponsor this year. On a point of personal privilege, and Susan was just mentioned, and so Marshall and WVU, yes, we both share the great Susan Levinsky, and it's been my pleasure to serve with you on the WVU board, and congratulations on your year as chair. You could come on over to the immediate past chairs. The water is fine. And Mary Beth, we wish you well as you take over the reins of this great organization. Again, we appreciate the opportunity to be with you this morning. I will be introducing my fellow panelists in just a moment. We will be sharing some of the amazing initiatives happening at West Virginia University. We take great pride in being the flagship university of the state, bringing our land grant mission to life. But before we get to the panel, I wanted to say just a few words about academic transformation and the presidential search. It is no secret that the past year has been a challenging one for West Virginia University as we navigated through academic transformation. But by the way, and I know that many of you have likely heard from the news, many other universities across this country are also managing similar challenges. But as President Gee noted, we at WVU face these challenges head on. We made some very difficult decisions, but we did so to position the university for a bright and solid future. We went first, consistent with our mantra, Mountaineers go first. So where does that leave us today? Let's start with academics, world class. Over 300 majors across the humanities, engineering, health sciences, agricultural sciences, education, and more. We are financially stable. WVU maintained a stable rating from Fitch because we controlled expenses, made difficult decisions regarding reduction, and managed to preserve a healthy level of available funds. We are investing in the future, and you'll hear a little bit more about that later. We're investing in growing our academic programs in robotics, neurosciences, sustainability studies, and again, you'll hear from our three panelists about their areas. We are the R1 research school for everyone. As an R1 research institution, we are one of the top 120 research institutions in the country. And we focus on applied research. That means our discoveries are impacting and improving people's lives here in West Virginia and across the globe. We are an economic driver for the state. We contribute $1.4 billion in economic impact to West Virginia, and that does not include WVU Medicine. And yes, we are on the search for the next president of West Virginia University. I have the distinct honor and privilege of leading that search. The Board of Governors is committed to an inclusive process, and we are committed to community and partner engagement. As we speak, we've conducted around 6 or 7 or so listening sessions. We will be hosting these listening sessions in Morgantown, in Charleston, in Beckley, and in Kaiser. We will use the insights from the listening sessions to help draft the leadership profile, the position description. That leadership profile will launch the first week of October. Of course, over the fall and winter, we will be conducting screening and initial interviews. We expect finalist interviews in the spring, and we expect to announce the next president of West Virginia University in the spring. So that is just an overview of the process. If I have anyone in the room who wants to put their name in the hat, we want to know that. you can go to the Presidential Search webpage, presidentialsearch.wvu.edu, for more information, and again, the opportunity to put your name or your best friend's name in nomination. So thank you very much for the opportunity to share just a few things about where we are at WVU, academic transformation, and the search. And now I will join and introduce our esteemed panelists, and let me introduce from the podium and then join them. So clearly, WVU is ready for the future. We're thinking about innovation, and I want to talk with, and we'll have the opportunity to talk with three of our leaders who are also thinking about innovation. Dr. Jorge Atiles is the Associate Vice President for the Division of Land Grant Engagement at WVU. He also serves as Dean of WVU Extension and Engagement and the WVU Davis College of Agriculture and Natural Resources. Prior to coming to WVU, he served as Associate Dean for Extension and Engagement at Oklahoma State University. Dr. Autumn Toombs Cypress is a professor and the founding dean of the WVU College of Applied Human Sciences. With roots in public education, as a former high school STEM teacher and principal, she has leveraged her experience as a practitioner and academic researcher to become one of the foremost authorities in the country, specializing on the intersectionality of teaching, learning, health, and wellness. Dr. Stephen Pashuta serves as Dean of the West Virginia School of Dentistry. He is an experienced healthcare executive with a significant background leading large, diverse healthcare organizations. He is a retired U.S. Navy Rear Admiral and served at the highest levels of military healthcare leadership, including as commanding officer of the Naval Hospital in Yokosuka, did I pronounce that correctly? Japan, Director for Health Services and Medical Officer to the United States Marine Corps, Director for Medical Resources, Plans, and Policy in the Pentagon, and Chief of Navy Dental Corps, of the Navy Dental Corps. So I will come over and join you, but please help me welcome our esteemed panelists. Somebody tell me how to be a moderator. First thing first is getting the microphone. Oh, so let's start with you, Dr. Pashuta. Tell us about what's happening at the School of Dentistry. And again, our theme here is innovation as well as bringing our land grant mission to life.
Well, thank you, Patrice, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. It is indeed my honor and a pleasure to return to West Virginia. I grew up about an hour from here in Beckley, and after 32 years in the Navy, had an opportunity to return to my alma mater and serve as the dean of our school and lead, our school into the next 10, 15, 20 years to the next level. So three things that I want to kind of touch on that's going on at the School of Dentistry and health sciences in particular. We talk about technology and we talk about innovation. As we all know in this room, they're really two different areas. A lot of times they get combined into one. Technology is obviously an enabler of innovation. We need to be competitive in the technology arena. If I look at the profession of dentistry, technology is driving our profession very, very rapidly. I think most folks in here, if you go to your dentist, They'll do a procedure on you. They'll scan a wand. They'll send it to a milling machine. Within an hour, you have a restoration. That type of computer-aided design, computer-aided manufacturing is very common in the profession. We must stay competitive with that technology at the school. Our School of Dentistry is 100% committed to our community and our community engagement. 83% of the dentists that practice in West Virginia are graduates of our School of Dentistry. When you think about it, that is a phenomenal return to the state and our land grant mission. Currently, our community health and community outreach engagement program is the highlight of our students' educational experience. They spend 6 weeks, the senior dental students and the hygiene students spend 6 weeks in dental practices throughout rural West Virginia. This is community engagement. This is returning health care. This is providing care to each community. It gives them an insight into West Virginia, into the rural aspects of West Virginia. So our rural rotation program and our community engagement program is one of the highlights. That does require innovation, that does require technology, teledentistry. We speak of telehealth quite frequently in healthcare. Teledentistry is kind of that next level for our profession, doing consultations from rural West Virginia up to our schools. So that piece of technology, leveraging innovation, if you will, is incredibly important, to our students and to our profession. The school is currently involved in a multi-year renovation plan. Our school was opened in 1957. We've had a number of smaller renovations to the school, but nothing significant and comprehensive like we're undergoing right now. When I came on board, President Gee, Clay Marsh, Chancellor Marsh, we sat down and we talked extensively about, what's the future of our School of Dentistry look like? So as we put together a renovation plan, we looked at, our congressional leadership, Senator Capito, Senator Manchin. We looked at our state legislative and governance for, assistance and guidance as we do this. Senator Capito and Senator Manchin, last year we received a congressionally directed spending appropriation for $12.6 million. That is a significant start to phase one of our renovations. That will allow us to do our phase one renovation project. Again, none of this happens in a vacuum. It is about the partnerships and the relationships that we form at the school with our legislative leaders, with our academics. The profession of dentistry is the profession at WVU, and I'm very sensitive to our time. We look at the profession of academics, we look at the profession of dentistry and how they complement each other. One other thing I wanted to talk just real briefly about is earlier this year we started a pediatric residency program. This residency program will help us close those gaps in access to care to rural West Virginia for one of our most needed areas of care, and that's pediatric dentistry and patients with special health care needs. So it is an incredibly exciting time at West Virginia University. It is an incredibly exciting time at the Health Sciences Center, 5 programs together. And I have never been more excited about the profession of dentistry and the future of dentistry in West Virginia and what we can provide to our patients and our state family members around West Virginia. So thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you for that overview. It sounds like wonderful things, of course, are happening at the School of Dentistry and across health sciences.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
So let's talk about education. There's been a lot of conversation at this conference, and we spend a lot of time talking about this actually at the WVU Board of Governors level, about K through 12 and the intersection and just education. As a physician, I know that there is this connection between education and health. Can you please elaborate on the exciting and innovative things that are happening in your area?
It would be my honor and pleasure to elaborate. Good morning. Thank you for having us here on this stage to think with you today. I'd like to start by just asking you to do something for me because, I'm a teacher. You stick one finger up, you stick the other finger across, and you make a plus sign. Like I'm checking you. I'm watching you. Are you doing it? Okay, you see how the audience is doing it? That's because I'm a principal and I can command an audience. Just sharing that. You just made a plus sign. The reason I asked you to do that is that I would like very much for you to remember, if you never see me again, that that is a symbol for intersectionality, which is a $10 word that academics use and nobody is quite sure what it means. Well, I'm going to tell you what it means from our college's point of view. For our college, what makes it unique is that we study and focus on a formula: teaching plus learning plus health plus wellness plus sport. Every time you heard the word plus, think about your fingers making a plus sign. So here's the deal. What people don't talk about, in my experience as a scholar, as a principal, and as a chemistry teacher, what people don't talk about in schools is that there is an intersection where everything slams together, whether kids are able to eat, whether they have access to hot food, whether they have mental health supports, whether they feel safe at home. And so what this college was founded was on the principles of looking at those connections to bring innovation to the profession of education and educator preparation through teaching plus learning plus health plus wellness plus sport. Our college has a funny name, the College of Applied Human Sciences. What does that mean? Well, it's those intersections. So we have 3 schools within the college, one that's focused on counseling and well-being, one that's focused on the preparation of educators, and one that's focused on sports science. So what we have done, and I'm so proud to be entering my 3rd year at my happy ever after home in West Virginia, and it's my favorite line, and I know people say it at these meetings, but for me it's the truth. I'm a very proud West Virginian by choice, and I got here as fast as I could. I have to tell my mom I got a clap for that. She'd like knowing that. So here's the thing. When I got here, one of the things we realized immediately is that COVID has left us with a whole different generation of learners, unlike any other learners before, because they were forced in isolation. And when you force young learners in isolation, or you make bubbles with families, not only do you have issues related to mental health issues like anxiety in particular, and burnout, you also have a profession of teachers who were sitting in front of computers, if they had access to the internet, teaching kindergarten all day. So we have a crisis in the classroom and a crisis in the profession. So the reason this college was founded was to look at that among these pieces of teaching plus learning plus health plus wellness plus sport. So I'm going to tell you the big 3 things that we've been thinking about, because I want to be precise. Because when you're a chemistry teacher and your mama is your first teacher, you kind of learn very quickly it's important to be precise. So 1, when I got here, what we focused on was developing a new application for an iPhone, because kids are all about their iPhone, for incoming freshmen. That's called U at WVU. And what it does is that it allows our students, any student at West Virginia University, frankly, it allows our students to get on something that looks like Instagram or TikTok. It is a live algorithm that measures their needs and interests. But what it does is it also provides a lot of portals into resources in real time. Parents can't see what their kids are looking at because kids don't want to think that their parents want to see or are able to see, where can I get hydrated on Sunday morning because I was at a football game and maybe I got dehydrated the night before. So what this app does is it does show spikes in areas of use, and we have a team of leaders that sit down with our professors and say, guess what? There's a big football game this weekend, and the spikes in use we saw with our incoming freshmen center on thoughts around safety, thoughts around access to health care, and where is the money if they've lost their card to go get some food or some Gatorade. And then that allows our professors to talk about these things in class. So we have a real-time application of the way freshmen are using and required to use as a course this platform on their iPhones, which then lets our professors be more relevant in real time and contour their classes. So we're changing the way that we are serving our freshmen, and as they articulate up, the whole college is doing this. So that's one thing that we've started that I'm very proud of. We're part of a consortium across the country that contours this platform, so it's for us. We've had the highest user rate. We launched it last year. We've had the highest user rate of anybody in the country. So I feel very good about that because that's also asking our professors to think differently about how they are going about the business of teaching. And if you'll indulge me for a minute, one of the things about being in the teaching profession, whether you're in higher ed or whether you're in a K-12 system, is that we have a kind of nostalgia about education because everybody went to school. But what's different about education versus medicine is that if I look at the television and say, well, I watch Chicago Hope, so I'll just go be a heart surgeon next weekend. I'll go step in for somebody. A lot of people think that just because they went to school, that they can go be a teacher. And teaching is a profession. So the way we have looked at our School of Education is how are we doubling down on our commitment to the profession to make sure that it is relevant and timely to this new generation of learners. How are we also doubling down to service the generation of practitioners that are suffering significantly in the state of West Virginia with issues of burnout and mental health, not only with their learners, but with themselves? So another thing that we are doing is we have looked at building a series of professional modules that we are rolling out to service teachers and educators in the field. And we're very proud of that work, and we've started work with Kanawha County, and we've launched 50 literacy fellows that are looking at the intersections of literacy and mental resiliency and mental health. And I know resiliency is used in a whole bunch of different ways. For us, what that means is taking stock of when am I exhausted, how am I exhausted, what do I need to do to think about exhaustion, what I'm eating, what I'm drinking, what I'm putting in my body, and how I'm taking care of it. So
I'm going to help you finish this panel because we have 2 minutes left.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Well, then it's your turn, Jorge. I'm just going to give it to you.
So I'm going to tell you a story.
Let's do a time check. I think we actually got started a little bit, but...
We have a little bit more?
Oh, really? So maybe it's my turn. I'll finish quick, though. Watch. Hang on. Put it down. I'll finish quick. Here's what I want to say. I'm done preaching about education. This is what I want to tell you. It has been my experience in all the places I've been as a dean and as a professor. When you look at innovation in education systems, that's how you drive the economy. So when we do this as the biggest economic driver in the state, the main focus point for our college is really looking at what are we doing to help not only everybody's kids, but everybody's grandkids. That's the driver. There you go, Jorge.
Thank you so much, Autumn. So, Jorge Atiles was not born here, but this is where I belong. So, I love it here. We're having a great time trying to direct the future of our state through what we do together. I want to give a shout out to our partners at West Virginia State University, at other land-grant university, in the way that we work together. We are created by an act of Congress. So we have actually funding that comes from the federal government, funding that is matched by the state. Thank you, Roger Henshaw, and all elected officials here. And also, those of you who are representing counties. I met with several county commissioners here and members of the Board of Education at the local level. It's that state, local, and federal relationship for us to be able to be in every single county in the entire state as part of a network in the entire nation. So we are very pleased to be able to be focused on innovation to improve lives and livelihoods. If you don't remember anything else about my division, it's about improving lives and livelihoods. And why do we do that? So you can prosper. There's no prosperity without health and education, right? No prosperity without health and education. And many people here in this great conference talk about their business, talk about what they need. 2 panels ago, earlier today, I was highly energized by people talking about housing because that's my area of expertise and the need for housing. So what are we doing in terms of innovation? You know, we are a heavily forested state. We have phenomenal hardwoods. So we have faculty, through congressional directed spending, looking into creating cross-laminated timber. So we can actually use that not only for housing, but also for even high-rise buildings. So we're going to be creating that project. It's going to be phenomenal. And we're going to be creating like 3x10 panels that are going to be able to be used by businesses to create opportunity for others to have safe, decent, and affordable housing. Now, those of you who were concerned also with your employees. So what do we do about your employees? We start early, cradle to grave, although that sounds very, apocalyptic. But we start by actually working with mothers, fathers, and others to be able to have those kids have the best chance to succeed, whether it's through our Energy Express program that actually helps kids get up to speed on reading so they can do better in school, or through our 4-H programs. Raise your hand if you're wearing 4-H. All right, so you know what I'm talking about. Premier youth program in the entire nation. And as West Virginians, we have the pride of having the first state camp in the nation, to have a phenomenal program where we reach every single kid where they are. We expose them to technology. We have a STEM center at Jackson's Mill. They learn about robotics. We partner with engineering. We partner with everybody sitting here to try to bring the university to the people. But it's not like in the old ways where, we are the university, we come to you, you do what we say and you'll be fine. No, we hear you. We went through the entire state trying to figure out what is it that you care the most about. We came back, and together we are developing programs that really address those needs. So if you're thinking about your employees and how you're going to be able to retain them, how you're going to be able to actually get them to acquire the skills that we are providing through our university, let us know what you need, because we can meet you there. They talked about child care. Well, we actually certify child care providers through our programs too. Something else that you need to know, the university has been changing little by little. And we are an all enterprise. So change is hard, but now we have a great opportunity after transformation to do the changes that are needed and have been needed for a long time. Our students are all exposed to understanding their purpose, right? Our pillars, also the one for the state, health, prosperity, education. But what about my purpose? What am I here to do? We want those kids to actually have a chance to understand what are they really good at. That will drive what major they choose. And we offer in the College of Agricultural and Natural Resources 13 majors and also 13 graduate programs. There's plenty for them to know and to learn. But when they have their purpose, much like what Marshall is doing through design thinking, thank you for doing that, where we are really focused on developing the purpose of each individual that is at our university. And those individuals we touch through our programs. All of our age youth, you remember the movie My Cousin Vinny? I always think about youths. So our youths are really exposed to the best that we can offer. And lastly, I'd like to tell you that when it comes to innovation, we also count on you, the private sector, the business. Invest in us, because you are investing in the future of the state. Thanks to investment, we now have a youth innovation entrepreneurship program, because we had a similar program already for college kids. But we have to start early. We really need to get those kids ready to face all of the challenges of cybersecurity. When they are in pre-K, for God's sake, they need to start then. You will not disagree with that, I'm sure. They need to start understanding what are the challenges and what are the opportunities of the future. So it is through investments and partnerships that we are able to create programs that really address the most challenging things of the times. Lastly, our vet program, many of you know that we don't have a vet school. We don't. But it's okay. We have a tremendous pre-vet program, right? So nationwide, people that apply to vet school, about 15% get accepted. Last year, 58% of our kids that we graduated got accepted into vet school. So that's tremendous, and we are very proud of that.
Thank you very much. Yes. So again, thank you for this opportunity this morning. I think General Hoyer said this earlier, the need for change is not just a challenge, it's also an opportunity. And so hopefully you can see that at West Virginia University, we are evolving our academic offerings in line with the theme of your conference, Igniting Prosperity, to ensure that our students are prepared to solve problems, to work and thrive in a 21st century society and a 21st century economy. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, guys. Very good. Almost there, guys. Almost there. I think we always, it feels like we always save the West Virginia poll for the end. It's something I always look forward to. It's always kind of making a little bit of news here. And, of course, during an election year, they're always very interesting. Our final speaker is one of the most well-respected pollsters in the nation. Rex Repass is the president of Research America with offices in Philadelphia, Cincinnati, Orlando, Detroit, and Sacramento. Rex is a native of Charleston, West Virginia, and a proud son of Marshall University. Rex is here today to present, in partnership with Metro News, the West Virginia poll and give us some insight as we head toward the November elections. After he speaks, guys, we're going to do door prizes, so we haven't forgotten. Thank you, Rex.
Well, as Steve said to me just a moment ago, I get the last spot because we want to keep you here. Now, I don't know if that's true. I hope it's true because I certainly enjoyed being here and doing this. And I think, I don't know how many years we've done this, but a long time. So I will try to be brief, but I'll also want to make sure we have time to cover everything on our list. So first, we'll talk a little bit about just the history. I don't have to go through the detail there, but we've been doing this since 1980. Pretty much, well, there's about a few years there where it stopped and we didn't have a sponsor, but thanks to Metro News, and also thank you to our presenting sponsor, the health plan, we've been able to keep this going for a long time. So just looking at the methodology for a moment, typically we do 400 completed interviews. We used to do them all by phone. That's not the right methodology these days, so it's all done online with a sample of not just whoever happens upon our website, but a sample representative of registered likely voters in West Virginia. It has a margin of error of about plus or minus 4.9 percentage points, so there is statistics involved with our study. So a little bit about the demographics here, just so you see who we are talking with. We have a good representation of males and females. We also have, as you see, 42% Republican, about 31% Democrat, about 26% independent voters, and 1% some other party. So if you look at the Secretary of State's data from July 31, it's pretty consistent with this, as well as our political orientation, income, and age ranges. So the bottom line, it's representative, not necessarily of census data, but it's representative of likely voters in the state. So, getting to the first question. There's no question that Donald Trump is strong in West Virginia. He's always in the 60 percentile plus, as high as 68% in 2016 and 2020. He still has a strong lead in our poll. I should add that we also add in what we call leaners. If someone is undecided, we ask them, how are you leaning as if the election were today? We put that into our total. There are very few undecideds truly in West Virginia in this race, but you can see we have 61-34 overall. If you look at where Kamala Harris is strongest, it's among women, but still Donald Trump is ahead 54-42. Among men, he's ahead 68-26. Among independents, 56-32. Among Republicans, 91-5. Among Democrats, 23-17. to 73. So moving on now, we'll look at the U.S. Senate race. And again, Governor Justice, not only popular, but he polls very well. If you look at our research over the years since he has been governor, particularly since 2020, he's also always in the 60 percentile range. And Glenn Elliott, the mayor of Wheeling, is frankly just not well known. And we have some data to show that here in a few minutes. And I think that's important to consider as we look at the next couple of months in the campaign and how do those candidates like Glenn Elliott and Steve Williams build name recognition, because they certainly don't have it now. So it's an uphill climb for them. Looking at the governor, very strong in his party, 88% support, 9% for Kamala Harris among Democrats. The governor has 36%, versus Glenn Elliott. The governor's got 36% among Democrats and 57% among independent voters. Looking at the governor's race, Patrick Morrissey's run very strong in 3 or 4 statewide campaigns, 300,000 plus votes that he's garnered over the number of years he's run for Attorney General and when he ran for the U.S. Senate. He's at 49%. Steve Williams is at 35%. Undecided is at 11%. So we have higher undecideds in this race. If you look at independents, 22% are undecided, and the race is 36-34 among independents. If you look at the Republicans in the governor's race, it's 84% for Morrissey, 6% for Steve Williams. If you look at Democrats, it's 13% for Morrissey and 78% for Steve Williams. But the key there, as I mentioned, is people don't know Elliott and they don't know Steve Williams. So this slide represents what I just said. We have a favorable, unfavorable rating for Donald Trump, Jim Justice, Joe Manchin, Shelley Moore Capito, and you can see those, and Patrick Morrissey, and you see those that are well known. There's strong opinions, and there's less unknowns. But look at Glenn Elliott and look at Steve Williams. 57% said they don't know enough about them to have an opinion. And moving into September of an election year, that's tough. They have a strong challenge in front of them. We also looked at job approval rating, and these often match voter support. And if you look at Governor Justice, he was at 62% in the polling in the trial heat that we looked at, and then as his job approval ratings at 65%, disapproved 27%. Senator Manchin, 52% and 35%. Senator Capito at 48 and 29. Now, you see some bumps that we haven't seen for a while, bumps up. For Senator Manchin, he's above 50% on job approval rating. He got a little bit of a bump when he changed to be an independent, and he also got a bump when he decided not to run again. So there's a little halo effect going on there with Senator Manchin's long career as a public official in West Virginia, and our polling data points that out. Just continuing here, if you look at the president, Biden is at 31 and 65. Kamala Harris is in the same range, 37-60, a little bit better, but not significantly. And we have some trend data, too, in looking at some of these people over time since they've been in office for a longer period of time. For example, looking at President Biden, you can see a little bit of a bump up from this time a year ago because he has made the decision to back out of the race, and he also got some support and some good feelings, I guess you would say, about his life and public service. So his positives went up from 28% to 31%, and his negatives only went down 1%. Obviously, it's within the margin of error. If you look at Governor Justice, this is actually his highest point approval rating that we've seen. This is the trend line all the way back to 2017. He's at 65% job approval rating versus 27% disapprove of his job performance in office. And we have some other questions that are going to follow up on Metro News beginning on Tuesday of next week. So we're presenting a lot of the data here, but please listen to Hoppy Kercheval and Talkline on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, where we have some other topics that we're going to investigate, including some issues like abortion. How do West Virginians feel about the law that was passed in 2022? And get some feedback on that. On child care, we're getting some information on how people feel if child care is a problem in West Virginia and how should that be solved. So continuing with these job approval ratings, here we see a little bit of a bump for Senator Manchin, as I mentioned, up from 51%, and up, so pretty consistent, though, over the time, but it's been increasing in the last year. And for Senator Capito, for whatever reason, she had a downward trend last year at 42% job approval rating. Now it's back up to 48%, more consistent with the way it's been over history. Another important way to look at this data, if you saw major changes, you might question the methodology. But when you see these consistencies in the data over time, then you know that there's something there's some validity in that data. So 7 in 10 believe things in the U.S. are generally headed in the right direction. Are off on the wrong track. 7 in 10 believe things are just off on the wrong track. The train is running in the wrong direction. Among West Virginians thinking about the U.S. economy and how things are going. But we wanted to compare that to how do people feel about West Virginia and how things are going here in West Virginia. And we see that a little more than half believe West Virginia is on the wrong track. Not great, but certainly better than how people perceive the economy overall and the state of affairs in the country versus West Virginia. So more positive feeling about the future here than the state voters have about the country overall. So, and the economy in West Virginia, is it likely to improve in the next 12 months, or is it likely to stay the same or get worse? You also see somewhat of an increase here on the blue line, which is a perception. It represents a perception that things are improving in the economy. That's up from 19% to 26% in 2024. And also those who believe it's staying about the same. Things aren't getting worse, but it's staying about the same. That trend line is also up. We ask about what are the major issues facing West Virginians. And if you look back, I remember back to the 80s doing polling and about the most important issues facing West Virginia. It's jobs, jobs, and jobs. And that's true this year. You see everything else is in single digits. 41% that the economy, employment, and jobs is the number one issue people are concerned about in the state. Crime and corruption, lowering taxes, healthcare system, all in single digits. So it's something that I know this organization focuses a lot on, and it's critically important to voters in West Virginia. So now to some fun questions. I know NBC and the Peacock Network might not like to see this data, but I was just curious. We were at Metro News and were curious about who was watching the Summer Olympics in Paris. And what we see is 38% of West Virginians weren't watching at all. Again, I don't think the NBC affiliates in the state will like that, but that's what we found. And we found that 12% were watching a lot, almost every day, 26% some, or every few days, and very little was at a 25%. But a plurality, nearly 4 out of 10, were not paying any attention to the Olympics. We also want to know how many of our state voters are sports fans, and we have 55% who said they are sports fans. So that leads into a whole series of other questions that are kind of fun to find out some results. So, Major League Baseball. Who are West Virginians' favorite teams?
shouldn't say by far, but 25% said the Pittsburgh Pirates, southern half of the state, Cincinnati Reds, Atlanta Braves, New York Yankees, Cubs, all single digits, Baltimore Orioles, Cleveland Guardian, and the Washington Nationals. I thought that might be higher, but it's not. And then a whole list of one mentions in the survey. But it's kind of interesting to find this out. Second, we looked at NFL teams. We're getting ready to kick off NFL season in a week, and the Steelers are by far the favorite team in the state, followed by the Cowboys, America's team. They're popular everywhere. The Kansas City Chiefs, boo, I don't like that as a Cincinnati Bengal fan, and the Baltimore Ravens. So all those in single digits, but the Chiefs, Cowboys in double digits, and by far the Steelers and their long history of greatness. You know, the Steelers, if I've been in Cincinnati for 36 years, it's hard to be a Steeler fan, but I do respect them. So, looking at some other things, we asked the question, are you a fan of WVU athletics, a fan of Marshall athletics, or a fan of both? 54% of sports fans in the state said they're WVU Mountaineer fans, singularly. 11% said Marshall fans, and 27% said both. We support both Division I universities, and 8% said neither. They have loyalty somewhere else. So we took this question, and then we took it 2 or 3 steps further. I'm looking at President Smith here, so. So now I want to put this question in context, because we've asked this question over the years. Should WVU and Marshall play in sports? But it's an easy yes, but we wanted to put some context around this. So the question, and I'm going to read you the language here, because I think it's important, if I can find it. But essentially we were saying, as you know, sports fan, WVU each year plays a lower level mid-major like a Kent State, or someone out of conference like Maryland. And then as far as Marshall was concerned, the context was Marshall will play an FCS or what was called 1AA school once a year, like Eastern Kentucky, or they'll also play a major school like, and I didn't say Notre Dame, that would bias the question, so I said like North Carolina State. So do you favor or oppose WVU and Marshall playing periodically, with most games in Morgantown and an occasional game in Huntington? So we put the context around reality, and this is what we saw. So 85% are in favor of football. And then in the basketball question, we put context around that as well. We said, how would you feel about WVU and Marshall playing basketball early in the season and alternating the sites between Morgantown and Huntington? And we saw 86% said, yes, we favor that idea. So we think the context around that is appropriate. Just to ask the question without any context is hard to think about how that would work. So presidents, athletic directors, legislators, if need be, let's get these teams playing again. Brad says we're all in. So that's about I think I'm at about 20 minutes. Any questions that anyone have, I'd be happy to answer them. I encourage you to listen in next week. We do have a lot of other questions about Governor Justice. We have some questions about, as I mentioned earlier, child care, some other national issues we're polling, and also the abortion question in the state, which is obviously of important topic for many people. So I thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any. Yes, Steve.
Rex, I want to ask a question that for me is a somewhat perennial question, and I'm actually not sure whether you want to offer an opinion on this. Where do you see West Virginians getting the information that shapes their opinions? I think this is a conversation we kind of need to be
Okay, go ahead. Well, that's, our company does a lot of media research. We're not predominantly in the political polling business, although we've done plenty in the past. We're primarily in the commercial market research space, and we do a lot of work in advertising or where people get information. And historically, that was always television. Always 65% television is where I get most of my news. And if you look over the past 10 years in particular, that's changing dramatically. And it's web-based, it's internet, it's websites, it's social media. Those are the sources of information, and you also see the switch in dollars spent by medium. But anyway, television always is going to be strong, but there are so many other channels and so much segmenting of audiences that web-based communication is the primary, close to the primary source of news. It's growing in importance. That's true in West Virginia. We see, I know there's been a challenge with broadband in the state, but you still have very high penetration. We have very high cooperation rate on this study. People who see the West Virginia poll invitation come to them, and the reporting will be done on Talkline. It gets people interested. They participate in the study, and the demographics point out that it is representative of the state. Not that we're perfect, but we're usually within the margin of error. So we thank you very much. Unless there are any other questions, thank you. Again, it's an honor to be here. I appreciate doing this. Been doing it for many, many years. And anytime you want me back, I'm available. Thank you. Let me get my water bottle there.
Sure. It's always great to have Rex with us. I think he's been doing this as long as I've been coming. This has been a fun 3 days for me. Thank you to our past chairs for their support throughout the 3 days here. And our chamber team, you guys, Steve, Kathy, Brian, Kaylin, Caitlin, Andrea, Lily, you guys knock it out of the park. And I think everyone knows how much work goes on behind the scenes, but if you don't know, come see me and I'll tell you how much work goes on behind the scenes. So thank you guys. For those of you interested in the door prizes drawings, they were held this morning, and the winners are, for the West Virginia gift basket, Jamie Lima. For another West Virginia gift basket goes to Kelly Elkins. The Fiesta dinnerware, Judy Ritchie is the winner of that dinnerware. The winner of the Greenbrier 2-night stay is Carla Linville. And the WVU bags go to Elizabeth Webster and Brandon Tenney. Do they just go to the conference table in the hallway? Okay, the chamber table in the hallway, and we'll have your gifts there. Thank you again for making the West Virginia Business Summit one for the record books and one of the most memorable to date. We've had some really memorable moments here over the last 3 days. We will reconvene next year at this location, August 27 to August 29. Please travel safely home, enjoy the holiday weekend, and I declare the 2024 West Virginia Business Summit adjourned.